Hey everyone, it's Miss Mayorga again. This is part 2 of lesson 7. Let's go ahead and continue. We left off on bubble 8. We finished it, so if you need to work on bubble 8, go back to part 1. Let's continue on to bubble 9. If you take a look at your notebook, bubble 9, we are going to skip, as well as bubble 10. We're going to go straight to bubble 11. But I do recommend, if you have time, to work on a few activities on bubble 10. For bubble 9, it's just this little quick assessment, but we're not going to focus on this. You just need to match the code to the image that it would produce. And this, you just need to look at the draw sprite. Where is that located? Anything after that won't get drawn onto the screen. So that's kind of how you're going to match it up. But again, I'm not looking at 9. Let's continue. 10. So 10 has a bunch of different activities that you can do. I recommend that you take some time and do a couple of these activities, but I'm not going to be checking these. All right, let's go on to bubble 11. This is the one that I'm going to be grading to see how you are doing with creating your own sprites. Right? So create your own sprites. Use what you've learned to create your own sprites. The example is just one way to complete the level. Decide for yourself what you want your sprite to look like. The example that we see here is this lobster with a fork and knife. In the notebook, you can see the code that would create this scene. No, I do not want you to create a lobster with a fork and knife, right? Use something else. Use different animations. But this, you can use the code to see how you could create different animations, what blocks you need, and if you need extra help, we can take a look at that. But let's check out what we need to do. Do this. Go to the animation tab and add at least 2 animations to your project. So let's go over to the animation tab over here on the left side. Right now, there are no animations in our project. We're going to go ahead and click add plus, the little plus symbol. It's kind of big, not little. And then you're going to see all these animations that you can use. You can also draw your own or you can upload. For this lesson, I'm just going to use some of the ones that are already here. I'm going to go ahead and click on robots. Feel free to click on anything else. Actually, click on something else, use a different animation, right? Don't use the same animations that I'm using. I'm going to use this blue robot, but again, you should use a different animation. And I'm going to add another animation. I'm going to go over to fantasy. I'm going to pick an alien. I'm going to pick this green alien. And now I have 2 animations. You're welcome to add more animations onto your screen, but I'm only focusing on 2. Going back to our code, now we need to think about the code that we need to add to create our scene. If we take a look at the example code in the notebook, in order to create the crab, sorry, I might have said lobster before, but the crab, we need 2 blocks. We need a create sprite command and we need a set animation command. And then don't forget, at the end of all your blocks, you need draw sprites, right? So let's go back here. I'm going to go over to our sprites drawer and open up, grab the create sprite command, drop it in there, and my set animation command, drop it in there. Right now, the default label for my variable is sprite, but I'm going to change that to robot because that's what I'm going to draw on the screen. If yours is going to be an animal or a food, you might want to call it food or call it pet or animal or whatever it's going to be. The other thing that I need to change is the label for the set animation command, right? The computer needs to know which sprite you're talking about. And in this case, I'm talking about my robot sprite. So I need to make sure that matches. Robot, robot. And you have to tell the computer which animation you would like it to attach to that sprite. So click on that little drop-down arrow. You're going to see all the different animations that you've selected. Right now, I've only selected 2, so I only see 2 options. I'm going to click on robot. And there's one more block that I need to add so that my animations actually appear on my screen. Which one is that? What block do I need to add? Yes, I need to add the draw sprites command. So go ahead and grab that draw sprites command and drop it at the end. And you can click run on your animation, right? I have a robot, you might have something else. And as you can see, my robot appears. And then your task is to add a second animation onto the screen. So you're going to repeat the process, add the same blocks, make sure you use a different label, and insert a second animation onto the screen. Reminder, this draw sprites block should be your last block, so make sure that the new blocks that you add are above the draw sprites block. Now, as you can see, my animation is a little bit big. It's kind of taking up the entire screen, so if I try to add a second animation, they're going to be overlapping and covering each other up. So I'm going to resize this picture. In future lessons, we will be working with sprite properties where we can easily resize using coding blocks. But for this lesson, I will show you how to resize a picture using the animation tab. So go ahead and go back to the animation tab. Click on the image or the animation that you want to resize. And then on the right side, you're going to see these two squares, and one of them is going to say resize. That top one with it's like an outer square and then a little square with an arrow. Click on that. Make sure that these two options are checked. Maintain aspect ratio, resize canvas content. All right, if one of these is not checked, your animation is going to look funky. All right, so make sure both of those are checked. And then go ahead and change the height or the width. It doesn't matter. I'm going to change the height. Right now the height is at about 400 pixels. I'm going to cut it in half. So about half. So I'm going to do 200. As you can see, the width will automatically change. That's why we click maintain aspect ratio. It'll automatically change the other parameter, the other, I guess, size. I don't know, property. Once you select your size, your new size value, go ahead and click resize. And when you click on it, the robot isn't going to get visibly smaller on your screen. You're just going to see that the edges, the pixels, become a little bit more pixelated. So go ahead and click resize. There you go. And when you go back to your code and run your code again, that's when you can see that the image has gotten smaller. All right. The one other thing that you might want to do, because if you just leave these settings, X and Y position as default, you're going to get your sprites on top of each other. So the other thing you might want to do is change the position of your sprites so that they're not directly on top of each other. And that's going to happen here in the create sprite command. This is X, this is Y. So right now, the center of my sprite is at 200, 200. I want to shift my sprite a little bit over to the left of the screen. So maybe I'm going to do 80 and 200. 80 for X and 200 for Y. That's too far. Let's go with 95. There we go. So again, as you move your mouse around the preview screen right here, around this area, down here, you're going to see the coordinates of that point. So as you move around, you're like, okay, I want the center of my sprite to be right about here. You can take a look at the coordinates that appear down below that preview screen. All right, that preview area. So right now, my mouse is at 310,91. So that's something I could type into here, 310,91. And that's it, right? I created one sprite. Your task is to have 2 animations on your screen. So you just need to repeat this process one more time, or if you want to add more, then add more animations. Just remember, this draw sprite block should go at the very bottom. There should not be multiple draw sprite blocks. You just need one of these blocks at the very bottom of your code. Okay, hope this helps. For Bubble 12, that's an optional challenge, so no, you don't need to do that. But if you want to spend some extra time working on sprites, you can check out Bubble 12. If you have any questions, like always, please message me on Schoology or ask me in class. And with that, I will see you in class.